Welcome back, everybody. The Premier League is back. What a week it's been of football, European football, which brings me to the winner from the last video. Just quickly, here is the winner. You guessed the correct amount of goals in the Europa League, so well done, 54. And judging by your username, you are so good that they named you twice. So well done, you have won OddAlerts Pro for a month, and the same applies for this video. Who is going to win out of these massive games here? We've got Ipswich, Southampton, Everton, Leicester. Which team is going to win? Who's going to come away from there with themselves, out and clear of the relegation zone? Of course, if Southampton win, they're still doomed, aren't they? They're on 6 points at the minute. I fancy Ipswich for this one, as does the probability model. You can see there, 2.22. Let's take a look at the odds in reality. In reality, the odds are about evens, 1.98, which I think is decent given how Ipswich have played in recent games. Ipswich, when they lose, you still see them giving a bit of something. Southampton have not given a bit of something in any game that I've watched of them recently. They're getting absolutely pummeled. So yeah, get your comments in, get your predictions in for all of the games that we're going to cover. If you're new to the channel, what we're going to do is take a look at the fixtures, take a look at the data on OddAlerts for all of these fixtures, and then put some predictions together, put some slips together on Bet365. And as always, these are my predictions. These are just my own human bias. If you want a more systematic, advanced, sort of long-term, profitable betting strategy, couldn't get my words out there, then check out value betting on OddAlerts. I've got a video on getting started with it. I've got a couple of videos actually that posted in the last month. You can check out that. You can check out the Pinnacle drop-in odds, another good strategy, and of course the filters at the top of the homepage where you can put all your rules in here. That's even that, if you want to focus on stats and that kind of method of betting, stats is better than just betting on the Premier League. Believe me, the Premier League is one of the most unpredictable leagues in the world. So why am I creating this video? Because we all love it, don't we? And YouTube loves it as well. The algorithm loves it, and you, the viewer, certainly love it too. So get your comments in to win OddAlerts Pro, and check out X tomorrow because there is a brand new feature launching to OddAlerts Pro which you will not want to miss. It is a new in-play feature, so stay tuned for that on X. That is where it will be announced first. And let's go. Let's check out the game, shall we? Let's start with the early game. Nottingham Forest against Brighton, third hosting ninth. Mitoma, will he play? He's been the subject of a £90 million bid from Al Nassr, I think, in Saudi Arabia. Mental, absolutely mental. Duran has gone from Villa, of course, and it would be a real shame to lose another very exciting, not young, he's 27, but still in his prime, fantastic winger. And you could not blame Brighton if they let him go. £90 million is a joke. It's why are they even paying these fees? And let's not get into that. Let's check out Nottingham Forest against Brighton. So Forest, although they've slowed down, they've still got 13 points from the last 6 games. That 5-0 came out of nowhere, didn't it? They had a draw with Liverpool as well. Southampton game, Southampton scored 2, coming back into it almost. But at home, their record looks like this, just 2 defeats all season. I wouldn't bet against Forest here, bouncing back especially. They're not in Europe, neither are Brighton, but, they've had that week off, whereas some of these teams playing today, on Saturday rather, will have had European games on the Thursday or on the Wednesday. And you can see here, Brighton's form isn't great, just 2 wins since the middle of November, and away from home they are still scoring. They've scored in every away game. That is the key metric I would take away from this game, and it just shows all you have to do is look at the results tab, really, for some of this stuff. You could have gone to goals for that, you could have then scrolled down past the XG, failed to score 0%, failed to score 9% at home for Forest. So will both teams score in this game? Let me know what you think about that one in the comments. Clean sheet record also quite low for Brighton, 25%. And let's just see how they rank. What you can do here is go to the tables tab. And if you wanted to see where these teams rank for something like that, let's look at goals conceded. And Nottingham Forest, as you might expect, near the bottom, which is the top basically, because lower is better. Let's have a look at clean sheets as well. I think it's near the end. Yes, it is. And Nottingham Forest, they are joint top with Liverpool. 9 clean sheets out of 23 games, but will Brighton have enough to get past them in this game? Let me know what you think in the comments, and we will move on to the next game, which is Newcastle. 27 points in the last 30 games, Newcastle, hosting Fulham. Let me just show you how I know that stat. 27 in the last 30 for Newcastle. This is the Form Guide Digest. It goes out every Friday morning to pro users. You can enable it from your dashboard, and it is a summary of the Premier League games, all the data, all the key data, and you can also, as you see as I scroll up here, get the Bundesliga, you can get Liga 1, you can get La Liga, and yeah, just a little plug for this. If you want to enable it, it'll go out every Friday, and you can read it at any time as well from the dashboard. But yeah, just another feature, another benefit of OddAlerts Pro. Now back to the video. So 9 wins in the last 10 games, and Isak on fire, isn't he? Absolutely on fire. It's interesting seeing Forest and Newcastle both in great form, both come up against Bournemouth and both get battered. How good are Bournemouth this season? How good is Iriola as a coach? Seriously, because he's beating every top manager, and not just every top manager, but he's beating them when they're in fantastic form as well. As you can see, the form, hardly conceding a goal, and then they play Bournemouth. It's just the same as Forest, and yeah, Bournemouth, absolutely massive credit, deservedly so. And yeah, I would expect Newcastle to win this game. We look at Fulham's record. It's okay, but not great. They don't get over the line in a lot of games, as you can see here. A lot of draws, 2 defeats in the last 3 games to West Ham, beat Leicester, as you would expect, and then lost at home to Manchester United. Away from home, similar to Brighton, they are still scoring goals, which they've scored in every single game on the road after the opening game, which, if you remember that game, the opening day of the season against Man United, they were quite unlucky not to score in that game. So what do you think's going to happen? Because BTTS could be an option here. Newcastle win and over 2.5 goals, maybe just to cover the event that Newcastle do what they've done in 3 of the last 4 home games, which is score more than 2.5 goals and win the game. I think that is very, very possible with the way they are playing. I have to check the team news. I've not seen if there's any injury news for Newcastle, because I think that's the only thing with Newcastle, is if you take one of those players out, they're not quite the same. But when they're all in and fit and firing, Gordon, Isak, the midfield trio is amazing when they're all fit and firing as well. So yeah, Newcastle maybe over 1.5 goals. We'll check the odds in a minute when we've looked at some of the games. And yeah, let me know what you're thinking for this game. I think Newcastle will continue their rise up the table. And we'll just check out the odds. Incidentally, 1.71 is the peak for Newcastle at this moment in time. That seems about right, doesn't it? We'll take a look at the probability model as well. 1.87, so negative value slightly, 1.87. I'm going to save that as my prediction. I think that Newcastle will continue to get the job done and just win this game. Now, Ipswich, Southampton, let's take a look at that one. Absolute 6-pointer. It's just so simple. These teams need to score more goals. 8 goals scored at home. And, you know, as a Blackpool fan, I know all about getting relegated when you come back up to the Premier League for the first time in ever, basically. Ipswich were there before, but Blackpool weren't. But you've got to score goals. You've got to win your home games. You've got to be strong at home. Conceding 2 goals per game at home is not good. So McKenna in this second half of the season has got to turn things around, or they will get relegated, I'm afraid. And they've spent a lot of money. Don't let anybody kid you. They've spent a lot of money. They've conceded 12 goals in the last 3 games. Now, to be fair, they played Brighton, City and Liverpool. At home before that, they did beat Chelsea. That was the first home win of the season. But it's just not good, is it? The only consistent thing is that there's goals. Over 1.5 goals in the majority of these games. We can check the data for this. We go to the goals tab. Let's look at overall form for both of these teams. The goals per game goes up a little bit for Southampton because, of course, they've scored more at home. But still, if you're looking at goals conceded, both of these teams have conceded 2 or more across two on average, I should say, 2 or more on average. And if we look at the last 5 games, 3.2 for Southampton. Last 10 games, 2.8. Southampton are just conceding for fun at the moment, aren't they? In terms of the XG against as well, 2.33 per game and 2.73 per game. Clean sheet, very low for both of them, less than 10%, and over 1.5 goals, as we see there, 83%. Now, what I'm going to do is set an alert on this game for that market, over 1.5 goals. We go to goals here. and it'll show us the current odds. So over 1.5 goals, 1.25. Let me know if that hits 1.6, and then I'll go in and investigate that. Now, looking at the odds, I do fancy Ipswich here, just from what I've seen. Again, this is me and my bias, these videos. This is just me looking at the data, and obviously, as a human, we have that bias. But when I've watched Ipswich on TV, they're much better. They do have players at the top end of the pitch, and they're adding to that all the time. They just seem to be buying a lot of wingers. They need a little bit of bite in the middle, and they need some defenders and a keeper, I think, because they are still conceding regardless of who they're playing. They failed to score in 3 of the last 4 home games they get. And again, look at the teams they've been playing recently. So this is a nice change of pace for them, and a chance for them to show what they can do against Southampton, who it's not looking good, is it? It's not looking good. Their last win came against Everton, who was under Dyche, and their only win this season has come against Everton at home in a 1-0 victory against Everton when they were, not doing very well before they sacked Sean Dyche. So away from home, they are not looking good, but they have scored in the last 3 games. So what are your predictions for this one? Get them all in the comments, guys, and you'll automatically be entered into a draw to win OddAlerts Pro. Let me know what you think. In terms of scorelines, 3-1 for me, 2-1 or 3-1 or 2-0. I know that's not exactly narrowing it down for you, but let me know what you think in the comments. Now for another crucial game in the relegation battle, Everton hosting Leicester. The probability model floating around evens implied odds, and we'll do a simulation for this one, and we get a 1-0 Everton win. You can see it, can't you? In the memory and spirit of Sean Dyche, a 1-0 win would be appropriate. Everton, I think under Moyes, we can see here 2 wins in a row. They beat Brighton away from home, and of course that great win, that great first half against Tottenham, followed 3 defeats in a row. So I think the odds here, I think they were evens, weren't they, to win this game? A 1.8, which is about right, because Leicester at the moment, they won the previous game at Tottenham. I don't know if that says more about Leicester and what Ruud van Nistelrooy is trying to do, or Tottenham. But I think BTTS for this. I don't know what you're thinking, but I think Leicester, they've shown that they can score goals. They've scored in 4 of the last 5 games, away at Brentford, away at Liverpool, away at Villa, and away at Tottenham. So tough games for Ruud van Nistelrooy and his team. And they've got some good players at the top end of the pitch. They really do. And the lad, El Ganoush, is it? I'm murdering his name there. But the guy that scored the winner. He's in my fantasy team. I should know who he is. He is a good player, a tricky little player, and he can pop up in some good spaces. Buonanotte as well, off the bench. Very good player. So I'm thinking with Moyes coming into Everton, he wants them to be a bit more expansive, and they certainly were at times against Tottenham when I watched them, in the midfield and the runs that the players were making. They're not just sitting back against teams now as they were under Dyche. And look at the lack of goals that they scored recently when Dyche was, getting sacks, basically. So I'm thinking BTTS for this one. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. We can have a look at the odds for this. BTTS is 1.91, but it's not the peak. The peak is 1.93 with Pinnacle. That's not bad. Now let's move on to another clash at the other end of the pitch, other end of the table. It's Bournemouth against Liverpool. Now for this, we're going to jump to the football form guide. We see that the team with the most shots, it is Liverpool in 9 of the last 10 games. They are playing Bournemouth, who have had this metric in 7 of the last 10 games. And if we just look at total shots taken, where is it? Shots for, we see that Bournemouth are actually 3rd. And look at the company that they keep. Liverpool, Chelsea, Bournemouth, City, Newcastle, Man United. So Bournemouth taking more shots than Newcastle, who have won 9 of the last 10. So Bournemouth doing very well. Expect goals in this game. There's been some high-scoring games, high-scoring draws for Bournemouth this season. 174 shots in the last 10 games for Bournemouth. Only bettered by Chelsea and Liverpool, who they face, 197 shots. I wonder how many of them have been for Salah. If we look at shots on target, Liverpool up there again, and it is Liverpool and Bournemouth, so maybe that is the play in this one. Let me know what your score predictions are going to be for this one. Can Bournemouth do it again? We saw earlier in the video the teams that they have beaten when they're on these amazing runs, they go and they play Bournemouth, and it's not an easy game. They've got Everton next at Liverpool, so if they lose this game and then lose to Everton, which is very possible, I think, given the atmosphere that Moyes is going to create against Liverpool, it's not going to be an easy couple of games for Liverpool, and they'll do very well to come out of it. I'll show you some more metrics on this tool as well, because for the Premier League it is very, very useful. This is the football form guide. You can get it in the description, by the way. Fouls committed, West Ham across the last 10 games. Let's go last 5, because there's been some managerial changes and European games and stuff. So fouls committed now, it's Aston Villa, Arsenal. If we look at, let's have a look at yellow cards. Who's getting the most cards? It is Bournemouth. Interesting, isn't it? So maybe we can factor that into our selection. So that is Liverpool-Bournemouth. Let me know what you think about that one in the comments. And now we will move on to the final game of Saturday. Wolves hosting Aston Villa in the Midlands derby, and after a solid start for the new Wolves manager, it has gone a bit downhill. They played some tough games, though, haven't they? But 4 defeats in the last 5 games, no wins in the last 5 games. It doesn't look good, does it? The only victories coming against Man United and Leicester in that run. And for Aston Villa, if we look at all competitions now, they are doing all right after a little bit of a wobble. As you can see here, November, December time, they had a bit of a wobble. They're coming out of it now. I think Emery was just trying a few things. He had some injuries. He had players to bring back into the team like Kamara, and it just unsettled some stuff. Duran's gone, which is a surprise. They brought in a new forward from Dortmund. So he will be coming into the team in the next few weeks. And this should be an interesting game. Let's take a look at cards for this one, because obviously this is a derby. You would expect it to be a fiery atmosphere. Wolves not letting Villa settle, the fans not letting them settle as well, because to be honest, if Villa get an early goal, it could turn a bit sour there, given the results and given how they've been playing. They've not been playing that well, Wolves, to be honest. They need to start picking up points, especially because of the other games that are being played behind me here. If some of these teams pick up points, Wolves can, potentially drop a little bit further down. They're 18th at the minute, by the way, Wolves. They are 18th, so they really do need to start picking up games, picking up results. If we look at the goals scored, home and away, it's not that great for both of these teams. Aston Villa scoring just 1.48, which is about below average, just bang on average, I would say, for the Premier League. And then you can see there, Wolves conceding 2.26 goals per game. If we look at the odds, I imagine it is quite even because it's a derby. So I think there's probably value there for Aston Villa. Let me know what you think about that. 2.09 for the probability model. I'm going to go with that for my prediction on OddAlerts. And now let's move to Bet365. So here we are then. This is what I've gone with. I've actually skipped the Wolves game and the early game as well, just because you never bet on the early, as they say in England. And so we'll start with the Bournemouth-Liverpool game. Over 3.5 shots for Bournemouth on target. We saw how they were doing in recent weeks. And I just love the way they play. They will play with absolutely no fear in this game, at home as well. They've blown teams away. They don't just sit back and wait for you to attack. I mean, with the Newcastle game and the Forest game, they were superb. Both teams to receive a card, 1.63. Then Newcastle to win and over 2.5 goals. You could take that as a single. Let me know what you think about these in the comments as well. Let me know what you're on, and I will look in the comments as well. And of course, let me know what you think about the relegation battle, and you'll automatically be entered into a draw to win OddAlerts Pro this weekend. Everton, Leicester, BTTS, as we saw, Leicester have done well, scored good away goals at difficult places. And Everton, whilst it's a difficult place, the quality of the team isn't as good as the places that they've scored at previously. So, 1.9 I think is decent value. Very, very capable of scoring, I think, Leicester. They'll know that with this game below, it's a massive chance for them to pick up points and build momentum. They just beat Spurs as well, remember. Ipswich, Southampton. This is the final time I'm going to back Ipswich. I've backed them on double chance a few times this season, draw no bet. But this is it, Ipswich. This is your last chance, and this is the game that you should be winning, to be honest. I think it's going to be a tricky game. I think Ipswich will have to break down Southampton. From what I've seen of the new manager, when he first came in, before they started getting battered again, he really did shore things up. They were horrible to watch and play against, but now that they try and expand and play football again, they just make the same mistakes and concede goals. The defenders are not good enough at Southampton. They just give the ball away all the time. And Ipswich have made mistakes at the back as well this season, so there could be a few mistakes in this game. 13.68 for that fourfold. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. And as I said, stay tuned to X, because there is a big feature coming tomorrow. A very cool feature, in play edition. I nearly told you what it is there, but you'll have to wait. It will be announced tomorrow morning, and it will be available tomorrow to use as well. It's an on-demand feature. You just have to wait, okay? And yeah, get your comments in, guys. Let me know what you think about this video. If this video gets 1,000 likes, I will be back for Sunday's Premier League videos as well. Premier League games, rather. Hope you've enjoyed this one. I'll see you in the next one.